Shortly after the pandemic began, we reached out to all of our clients and our trusted partners, and we spent a lot of time listening to their greatest fears, challenges, and frustrations given the current environment. But what we started to hear in those conversations was that a lot of concerns were not finance related, but instead related to family, friends, health, and their children and grandchildren's education. So we all know navigating school during this time has been hard on both parents and kids.
Thinking about quality teaching. When we say quality of teaching, it should look very purposeful. If you have the opportunity to observe a classroom, it should look organized. If asked, teachers should be able to articulate why students are doing an activity and what the learning goal is, essentially the purpose. Additionally, a variety of activities around the classrooms that students can choose to do is also important to look for. That's something you might be able to ask to see if you can't, or a teacher to demonstrate evidence of, if you're not able to go into a classroom like some of us are right now. It's important to point out that just because a school is private or costs more than another school, whether it be pre-K, elementary, high school, or middle school, it doesn't necessarily guarantee best practices. The pandemic in education. What we know is that this was the largest disruption to education in history. Over 95% of the world's population was affected. And while studies are new and emerging, they are clearly indicating that the overall effect of pulling this many students out of classrooms and into homes wasn't great. Keep in mind that with every disruption, which this was and still is, comes innovation. As I alluded to earlier, this pandemic has cracked open the curriculum and called educators to seize the opportunity to reinvent what we teach and the way we teach. So when I step back and look at this and all of this information, I form my own COVID narrative. And that is that these fallout and gaps of COVID forced our system and the students to experience something dramatic. And I know that throwing funding at it isn't going to alone solve the problem. What's going to solve the problem is what I shared at the beginning. My lenses for this work are very human. They're teacher and student centered, and education is a very teacher and student human centered endeavor. It's going to take all of us, parents, caretakers, stakeholders, teachers, and students to navigate the path forward. And we can do that with a deep understanding of the context of education, as well as our students. The first would be to begin conversations with the student in your life. As they go back to school, plan some time to talk to their teacher. Plan some time mid-year as well to discuss your child's academic progress and what support they offer and what support they recommend for your students. Within this time, bring some questions as well as some time to listen. And go on your district website or ask an administrator how they're spending their ESSER funds and see if any of those supports or interventions can help your student on their education journey.